Salve to discipuli, this is Magister Buddy, and today's lesson is from Stage 9 about datives. So as I'm giving you the new information about datives, we're also going to do a review. One of our old standard cases is the nominative. The nominative in Latin is always the subject or a subject complement. For example, the kid throws. The kid is the subject of this sentence. In English, we know that the kid is a subject because it comes before the verb. The kid is doing the verb. We're going to skip dative for right now until we review everything else. So accusative. Accusative is our direct object or the object of a preposition. In this example here, ball is the direct object. The kid throws the ball for the dog. The ball is directly receiving the action of the verb. The verb is throws. What's being thrown? The ball. We also have the ablative. The ablative is the object of a preposition. Remember, prepositions generally show position, so whatever is being positioned is the object of that preposition. For example, the kid throws the ball over the house. Over is a preposition. The house is receiving the action or the positioning of this preposition, so over the house is our prep phrase. In Latin, house would be in the ablative here. All right, let's go back to the dative, our new grammar. The dative is the indirect object most of the time. Every once in a while it can be the direct object, but don't worry about that now. We'll get into that later. Our example, the kid throws the ball for the dog. So the kid is our subject, it's doing the throwing. The ball is our direct object, it's directly receiving the action of the verb. The dog is our indirect object, it's being done to or for the dog. The dog here is indirectly receiving the action of the verb. Remember, English relies on word order. The reason why we knew that in all of these examples what the function of the word was is because of word order. Latin, however, relies on endings to indicate function. So here are our complete charts now. Across the top here, we've got our nominatives. We've got our accusatives right here. And we have our ablatives. This is our new material, the datives. So we've got an AE in the first declension singular. It's going to be a little tricky because the nominative plural for the first declension is also AE. So when you see an AE, you got to pause for a second now and ask yourself, am I looking at a plural subject, which if you have a plural verb, then likely that is the case, or am I looking at an indirect object? We have an accented IS in the dative plural for the first declension, also for the second declension. That really shouldn't be a problem. Also accented IS in the ablative down here. So we've got some duplicates here. Remember, ablatives are objects of preposition. So if there's a preposition there and you see one of these, you know you're looking at an ablative and it's going with the preposition. But if there's no preposition there, then you're looking at a dative, and therefore it's your indirect object. Okay, the second declension singular is an O. Again, that's similar to the ablative down here. Same line of reasoning, though, will help you figure it out. And then over here we have an accented I, which is the same as in the second declension, the nominative plural. So if you know that you're looking at a second declension noun, then you know that it is nominative plural. If you know you're looking at a third declension noun, then you know you're looking at the dative singular. Otherwise, if you've forgotten which type of noun you're looking at, you can use the other lines of reasoning that we've already talked about. And then we've got ibus here for the dative plural. Again, similar to the ablative plural. Well, not just similar, it's exactly the same. Use the same line of reasoning. If there's a preposition with it, you're looking at an ablative and the object of a preposition. If there's no preposition, you're looking at an indirect object. All right, so let's look at some examples. Go ahead and in a moment pause the video, copy down these 5 sentences, label all your nominatives as the subject, your datives as the indirect object, your accusatives as the direct object. If you have an accusative or an ablative that's going with a preposition, go ahead and put parentheses around it because it's a prep phrase. All right, pause the video and work on all that, and then you can check your answers. All right, so here we go. Sentence number 1, Ancilla domino cibum inculina ostendit. I put parentheses around inculina. This is an ablative. It's going with the preposition, so this is a prep phrase. Ancilla is nominative, so it's our subject. Domino is our indirect object. Quibum is our direct object, it's accusative, and ostendit's our verb. So this says, the slave girl showed the master food in the kitchen. Or you could say, the slave girl showed food to the master in the kitchen. Either way, make sure that the food is directly receiving the action of the verb, the master is indirectly receiving the action of the verb. All right, next sentence, agricula uxori annulum in taberna ament. All right, so we've got an ablative here. It's going with a preposition though, so this is a prep phrase. Once we put those parentheses around it, we're not going to label it anymore. We're going to leave this alone when it comes to our labeling. Agricula, subject. Uxori, this is our third declension here. So it's dative singular, it's our indirect object. Direct object, because it's accusative, and our verb. So this says, the farmer bought a ring for his wife in the store. All right, servus metelli, ooh, that should say togam, in cubiculo tra didit. In cubiculo is a prep phrase. This is ablative going with in, so I put parentheses around that. Servus is the subject. Metelli, that's a dative, so it's our indirect object. Togam is accusative, so it's our direct object. Tradidit is our verb. So the slave handed over the toga to Metella in the bedroom. All right, mercator gladiatoribus pecuniam in taberna afferabat. In taberna is a prep phrase, so I'm going to put parentheses around it and leave it alone and label everything else. Mercator, this goes in our odd box. It's third declension nominative singular, so it's our subject. Gladiatoribus, this ibus right here, means that it's dative. It could be ablative as well in form, but there's no preposition going with it, so it's dative. Pecuniam, clearly accusative, so our direct object. Afferabat ends in a T, clearly our verb. So the merchant was offering money to the gladiators in the store. All right, femina angelis tunikas in cubiculo quaerebat. So in cubiculo, prep phrase. How do we know? Because this is an ablative and it's going with a preposition. So I'm going to put parentheses around it and leave it alone after that. Femina is the subject. Angelis, this is an accented is. It could be dative plural, could be ablative plural, but there's no preposition next to it. So it's dative plural and therefore our indirect object. Tunikos, accusative plural, so it's our direct object. Quaerebat ends in a T, clearly our verb. So the woman was searching for tunics for her slave girls in the bedroom. All right, so when dealing with your datives, remember, English relies on word order to indicate function, and that's not only helpful for datives, that's helpful for all of your noun forms. However, Latin relies on endings to indicate function. You need to know your endings. If you don't know your endings, even if you know every single word in the sentence, what every single word means, you're not going to know how to put the puzzle together. Vale te discipuli,